This is Brian, screenfiles.com and review. What I'm looking at today is 2015's White Raven, directed by Andrew Moxon. Tubi lists White Raven as a horror movie, and having seen it, I at first had difficulty with that designation. If only because if you're going to judge a movie by incidents that happen within it, then virtually every movie is a horror movie. I mean, even comedies. If something really bad happens, you could conceivably say they're horror movies, that that's what you're used to judge such things by. Though, this kind of bugged me, so I started to watch White Raven again. And I think I get it as to why it could be called a horror movie. If you're not aware, the story revolves around 4 friends who every year go on a camping trip. And this year is no different than any other. Though this time around, one of the group literally loses their mind. And let's just say, seems to take that out on the other men in the group. Once again, I asked myself, why is this a horror movie? It's not nearly as violent as, let's say, Deliverance, the movie starring Burt Reynolds, but though thematically similar. Though that movie, as far as I'm aware, is not considered a horror movie. Though, I think there is, from one metric, you could call White Raven a horror movie. And it's that the movie revolves, as I said, around these 4 men, one of whom just loses his fucking mind. Now, the thing is, what I also said is that these 4 men went on this trip every year. This implies that they know each other. This also implies that they're friends. Now tell me, if one of your friends were going mad, and I mean that literally, not figuratively, wouldn't you have picked up on it? That's where I think this becomes a horror movie. Not because of the actions of the person who loses it, but because no one around them seemed to notice that this was coming. And in fact, White Raven begins with Pete sitting in a truck, considering whether or not to blow his own brains out. He inserts the gun barrel in his mouth, but holds off on it. You might wonder why he does that, and I suggest you watch the movie. It's pretty good. Though, as I said, the people he goes on this trip with, he is familiar with. He knows them. The idea that they couldn't pick up on there is something wrong with this man is really troubling, and that's where I think the horror lies. Early in the movie, they established that Pete doesn't even own a cell phone and has to use I want to say phone box? I don't even remember what they're called. Phones that aren't in your pocket. In any case, he uses that to contact people. This clearly shows a problem. Sure, he could be a techno-Luddite. That's possible too. But if he's demonstrating that such an extreme dislike of mechanical devices, it strongly implies that there's something going on there beyond that. And once again, I have to repeat, the movie begins with the man threatening to blow his own brains out. And I asked, if these people weren't his friends, why didn't they pick up on this? And that's true, but the movie also establishes that Pete has a significant other, be that his wife or girlfriend, I don't have any idea. Though you can tell that that person is very important to Pete. And when Pete is contemplating killing himself, he's doing it outside the home of this woman. How couldn't his friends or I should say so-called friends. How couldn't his friends pick up on some of these really bizarre behaviors and maybe assume that something is wrong with Pete? They don't throughout the whole movie. And in fact, when he starts losing his mind, no one seems to be aware that anything out of the ordinary is happening. And this is where White Raven becomes a horror movie. Just the realization that people who are supposedly close to you cannot see your mental decline is terrifying. Just the notion that you could be breaking down, literally, right in front of them, and they don't notice. I think that's really scary, personally. And by my reckoning, justifies calling White Raven a horror. So what do you think? This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and Review. Do you agree, disagree? Let me know down below. And as usual, consider a like or a follow.